Our first guest now at the host area. The tragic events in China in recent weeks and the associated turmoil in Hong Kong have evoked great sympathy in most Australians, but will we be so compassionate about the thousands of Asians who want to escape their uncertain futures by migrating to Australia? To discuss that, we're joined now by the man who many believe started the bitter Asian immigration debate in this country, historian and author Professor Geoffrey Blainey. Welcome to the show, Professor.
Thank you very
Brilliant. Much. Musical director Ross Burton has played appropriately I Still Call Australia Home. So I guess that's a good starting point. Who should call Australia home?
Well, the people who live here firstly should call Australia home, and it's quite legitimate that we should increase our population and that we should bring from many parts of the world people who will make good Australians.
What are your thoughts about the Asians who want to be good Australians?
Well, I'm perfectly happy with Asian immigration and indeed immigration from every part of the world. The question is how many should come.
What's your problem? I mean, what do you believe we're doing wrongly here in Australia?
At the moment?
Yes.
Well, at the moment I think that we're bringing in too many people at a time of economic difficulties. There's no evidence whatsoever that our standard of living is gaining from migration on the present scale, and indeed many migrant groups, I suppose through no fault of their own, have very high levels of unemployment, and the average Australian taxpayer has to support them because they have no work. You know, if we have full employment and all the migrants who come in bring in skills and can get work, then there's a lot to be said for migration. But if they end up on social services, what's the point of it?
Professor, do you believe we should curb immigration anyway, generally, in Australia?
I think that the argument's wide open. There's no clear proof that widespread immigration increases the standard of living of a country. After all, Switzerland and Sweden, Japan have no immigration and are very prosperous. I think that we face a problem that we look to be a big country in the eyes of the world, and people in China or India look at a map of Australia and see all those lakes, and they don't realise that they're dry. So we have a problem in explaining why we have only a small population, but I think we just have to publicise the fact that it's a very difficult continent to settle, and that virtually all the immigrants who've come in here in the 1980s have not gone bush. 60% of them are in Melbourne and Sydney, and all the rest are in other cities and towns, so that we're not populating the interior, are we?
Do you believe there are any Asian migrants who get to Australia by other means rather than the official channels?
Well, of course they do. Some of them come in as tourists and
stay.
And they stayed. People, of course, from the British Isles do the same, from America. Some of them come in as students and they don't go home. At the moment, a very large number of the Chinese students who are asking for permanent asylum in Australia are here illegally. You know, they've overstayed their visas.
There is obviously, among a lot of people in Australia, whether we like it or not, an anti-Asian feeling. But I'm old enough to remember the anti-immigrant feeling back in the 50s after the Second World War, and I can't see much difference. The difference is we have nicknames for the Asians who join us, as we had nicknames for the Italians and the Greeks who joined us in the 50s. But they assimilated pretty well, didn't they?
Yes, I don't think that there's widespread anti-Asian feeling in Australia. I think that the majority of people in Australia are happy to have migrants from every part of Asia. The question is how many?
So what's the answer, how many?
Well, it's a very difficult answer. My belief is that an immigration program to work well has to satisfy the people who already live in the country, and it also has to satisfy the people who are coming in. And if you bring in too many too quickly, there are tensions, and neither the new migrants nor the old Australians are satisfied.
How do you personally wear the mantle that some people see you as being a racist? That must be pretty hard to cope with.
Well, increasingly the word racist is used by people who themselves are probably racist by their own definition, so it doesn't greatly worry me.
What is a racist as you see one?
Well, I think a racist is somebody who believes that certain races are superior to others, and generation after generation the people of that race will be superior to other races. Now, most people don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that. You don't subscribe to that?
No, of course not, of course not. What's your dream for Australia? What would you like to see Australia be, say, in the year 2001?
It's not far away, is it? I'd like to see us much more prosperous than we are. I think that the 1980s has been one of the least successful decades in our history. The standard of living of the average Australian has fallen. We're not competitive by world standards. I don't think there's enough sense of cohesion in the country. I think large numbers of Australians are disappointed about Australia and uncertain about its future. I'd like to see us more confident, more competitive economically in whatever we do. I think whatever we do, we should do well. And at the moment, there are a lot of things we're not doing very well, hence our balance of payments problem.
Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself as an observer or a prophet?
Well, I'm just a citizen, but increasingly people ask me, as you do, about the future. Unfortunately, I prophesied a lot of the events in China 4 or 5 years ago, and it's sad to see them happening. I couldn't see China moving steadily on the glorious path towards democracy. I could see troubles in China, pressures from Hong Kong and so forth, but it doesn't make me pleased that I've predicted many of these events.
What's the answer there, do you believe?
The answer I think the answer is to take it more calmly. I mean, China's had long periods of troubles. In the late 1960s, the number killed in the Cultural Revolution makes the present troubles in Beijing seem just like a brawl at a football match. And
yeah, but are those sort of things relative, do you believe?
Yes, they are relative. I think that we have to realise that all around the world there are troubles, and that it's only when television is allowed into a country and we actually see on our screens what the troubles are like, do we realise not only what conditions are like in China, but what they're like in so many other countries in Africa. Freedom's a rare commodity, unfortunately, and this is one of the tragedies, that we expected too much of China too quickly.
Yeah, but in fairness, can you equate 1 million lives with one life if you're talking about democracy?
Yes, I think you have to. I think that a tragedy is all the worse if 1 million people are killed rather than 3,000 people are killed. I mean, if every life is precious, then 1 million lives that are lost is infinitely worse than 3,000. I don't wish in any way to downplay what's happened in Beijing. It's terrible, but I'm just saying we need to have a perspective on events in China, and I think that China is, in many ways, is a great civilization. What's happened there is sad, but I think in 2 or 3 years' time, our relations with China will be, back to reasonable normality, and you will be going there as a tourist.
Mm-hmm. And what about the people who are living there?
Well, they will remain there, most of them. They will remain there, and will be happy to remain there.
Under what sort of conditions? Under a democracy, do you believe?
No, I don't think China will be a democracy in our lifetime. But
is that a sad thing?
Well, democracy is a freak condition in the world's history. Where, strange as it may seem, Australia, a country we see with a very recent history, is one of the 6 or 7 oldest democracies in the world. And only if we believe in democracy and make an effort to keep Australia a democracy will it remain a democracy. We should count ourselves lucky that we live in a democracy. We shouldn't be surprised that in many other countries democracy doesn't exist.
Professor, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks very much, Bert.
Professor Geoffrey Blainey. After this break, we talk showbiz with Patty Mostyn.